Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. So you made it all the way to our conclusion of our course for solving quadratics by applying the quadratic formula. So there's a couple kind of tips and tricks that I just want to go through with you, and some common mistakes as well that I've seen with them, my own students, when they're solving by using, the quadratic formula. A couple things, at least from some tips and tricks to make sure is, just like when we're doing factoring, we got to make sure that when we're applying the quadratic formula, that our equation is in standard form. And again, standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c, because when we're identifying the a, b, and c, we got to make sure that's the true value of a, b, and c, and there's no other like rogue numbers on the other side of the equation. The next thing is, I was thinking for our standard form, the next thing is to determine the discriminant next. So rather than trying to find out, what all the values of the quadratic formula, identify the discriminant first. That's going to be, if you remember, b squared minus 4 times a times c. That's going to tell you all the solutions of your quadratic. If you're going to have two solutions, one solution, or no solutions. If your solution is going to be rational or irrational, right? That's going to tell you everything about what you're going to be looking for in your answer. So it's very helpful to determine the discriminant first. Now let's go and look at the equation that we have and see where kind of students make mistakes here. 4 times a times c divided by 2a. All right, one of the first mistakes that I see students do, and I'm actually going to use a different marker here. One of the first mistakes students I see do is they forget it's the opposite of b. I can't even tell you how many times, especially even if b was negative. Then it's the opposite of negative b, which means b is now going to be a positive value. So be very careful with that opposite of b. So if b is negative, b is now positive. If b is positive, it's now negative. It's the opposite value. It's not negative b. It's the opposite value of your b. The next thing is a lot of students forget the plus and the minus. When you're solving a quadratic, we're going to have two solutions a lot of the times. Obviously, there's cases when our solution is going to be only one solution. And then when that happens is when our discriminant is equal to 0. All the other times, you're going to have two solutions unless it's no solutions. But even with no solutions, you're going to have two imaginary or complex solutions. So you got to be careful. Make sure you include both positive and the negative solution. The next thing, again, is this minus sign. A lot of times when students are seeing, negative a and a negative c, is they mix up that multiplication of negative 4 times negative a, negative c, and they get it confused. Is that going to be negative or is it going to be positive? So be very careful with that. And my last mistake, common mistake that I see with students, is not dividing everything by 2a. So I see a lot of students, they do all this, and then they divide the 2a over your discriminant, but then they forget about the b up front, and they just add or subtract the b. The quadratic formula is all over 2a. So the kind of a tip and trick that I'm not going to write down, but I tell you is, once you evaluate the discriminant, add or subtract it to your b, and then divide everything by your 2a. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is a kind of a summary of the course. Some things you hopefully to take away with your process, and I hope you enjoyed. Thanks.